Hi everyone, it's Kiana. Join me to draw an easy and fun portrait with charcoal. But before we jump there, let me tell you something. I see some artists start their video saying, "Hi, I'm a full-time artist," but in my case, I actually work a full-time job and art is my part-time job. So I guess I can start with, "Hi, it's Kiana and I'm a part-time artist." Okay, now let's start with the drawing. This is my go-to style when I want to draw something so quick or when I'm not really motivated to do any drawing or painting at all. And this basically boosts me up. Okay, I start with a very soft natural charcoal and I just add multiple layers to my paper and wipe it off. I do this to have a grayish background rather than the white paper. I then add the proportions of the portraits and they're not so accurate, just good enough to give me an idea of what I'm going to do. I then go ahead and wipe this layer as well, and this is the time when I get my hands so dirty, but actually I don't mind. It makes me feel more like an artist. The next step is adding the face elements a bit more accurate. So that's why I switch from the soft charcoal to a more hard one. And here I use a soft black pastel. This step doesn't necessarily need to be perfect. It's just going to be more accurate and complete than the previous layer. One thing that I really like about soft natural charcoal is that it gives me so much flexibility and I can make changes so easily and wipe off the things that I don't like. So here I am adding the eyes, the nose, eyebrows, and of course the lips. As I said, you can make any changes when you're working with soft charcoal just with a simple touch and basically you just wipe it off. So here when I looked at it, I was like, the nose is a bit too short for this face. So I just wiped it up simply with my finger and I drew it a bit lower than the place that it was. I know that this is a stage where you think it's just not good. It's all black and a bit dirty, but trust me, this is where you have to trust the process and give it time so it will all make sense and come together. And I mean, it's not always about the outcome. Sometimes it's just about enjoying the process and letting go of yourself instead of thinking and being worried about if the drawing you're working on, if the painting you're working on is going to look perfect at the end. And honestly, the artist is the only person that can say if what she's doing is art and it's perfect or not. No one else can say it to you. Okay, and here I started to add a little bit of sharper lines to outline the face, the hairlines, and neckline. To me, drawing the hair is so fun, especially when I'm trying to hide the ears beneath them. Because honestly, I don't really like drawing ears. I don't know why. They're not hard. It's just that I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy drawing other parts of the face or body. I then move on to the eyes again, this time with a harder charcoal and trying to start from inside out to give it a bit of more depth because if you look at the eyes, it's the sphere first and then the skin comes on it. So it's better if you start inside out other than starting from the outside of the eyes and then going inside. So that's what I usually try to do. I try to use sharper lines here because I want to define the portrait. Simultaneously, I try to add some shadows and give more depth to it. To be able to add more details, I switched to a medium charcoal pencil instead of using the soft pastel because for sure it's sharper and more detailed. One of the things that I try to do when I'm working on portraits is to try to work on different parts of the face at the same time. There is no wrong or right way, but This way it just gives me a better understanding of the whole face and gives me a better idea of having the proportions. I also use pencil for drawing the eyebrows, and sometimes when I feel I added too much of shadows or one spot is too dark in the drawing, I just use the pencil eraser just to clean a little bit of that. So here I just keep working on the eyebrows and adding more details to the eyes with my pencil, and just adding more shadows to the forehead and under eye area, and my fingers are my brushes basically, and using just my hands to blend the charcoal. I noticed that I literally just erased the lips that I drew before completely. So I just had to add them again, but I don't mind it because the lips that I drew were only the final lips and I wanted to work more on them in more details and depth. Moving, working more on the nose and adding a bit of shadows. I feel like at this stage the whole portrait starts to make sense because the eyes are more complete now, and yes, I'm wiping with my hand again, and I had to draw the lips again, which was fine. And here she has her lips back, and I believe they're better than the previous ones. I have the same process for lips as well as I had for eyes and nose. I start with soft charcoal and then move forward with harder shapes with pencil and make it more complete basically. My next step is to add the jaw lines to define the shape of the face. And as I said, I try to work on different parts of the face at the same time, so no wonder that I suddenly jump to the lips, eyes, or nose while I'm trying to do the face outlines. Honestly, at this point when I was drawing, I was like, I really like it. I know what I'm going and I'm enjoying the process, so I know I'm on the right track. And here, working on the lips again with my fingers, of course. I always try to blend the outer line of the lips with the face and try to make them one rather than make it feel like the lips was separate from the face and it just sticks to the face. So I try to blend a bit of shadows underneath and on the top of the lips. Also, if I feel like I have too much charcoals on my hand, honestly, I don't wipe them, nor I wash my hands. I just use them to add more shadows to the portrait, and of course, if I add too extra, I just erase them with my pencil eraser. And here, just adding more shadows and blending, blending, blending. The next and the most fun part of this whole drawing is working on the hair, of course. So I start with adding outlines and then I move forward and try to have a bit of more charcoal on the surface and just blend them with my finger. It is so easy, and don't be afraid of getting your hands dirty. It's the most fun part of the drawing. Just remember to blend less on the areas of the hair that you want to have darker hair and darker shadows, and blend more on the areas that you want to have lighter hairs. In the meantime, I worked on neck and neckline, and I really wanted her to have this flowing free hair, so I didn't consider a very specific line hair for her. I just tried to keep them as free as I could, and I think it somehow worked. And here, just working on the hair and neck, trying to add as much shadows as I want and make some changes as I work more on the drawing. So here I decided that there's too much neck here, so I added a bit of more hair and changed the outline of the hair basically. One thing that I highly suggest about drawing hair is that avoid starting with very small areas and basically drawing every individual hair. Try with bigger areas and add the details later. It just makes your life way more easier. Okay, my next step was to add more shadows to the whole drawing, specifically to the face, to just make it look more cohesive. And here I just added some white charcoal to the hair to give it more shadows and define the hair rather than just the areas. And I really like doing it with white charcoal. It's a game changer, honestly. And then I just added some small details to the lips and eyes. The last detail, not the last detail, one of the last detail I try to make is make more hairs with fine charcoal pencil to make it more realistic. It's not going to be a hyper realistic drawing anyway, but just to make it feel more like a person than just a drawing.